Welcome back, everyone. How do we create stylized cars? If you're familiar with stylized car creation in the Blender community, you're probably familiar with these kind of works. Really incredible car designs, but they're stylized. They're playful. They're like toy cars. How do we create these? This one is particularly one of my favorite, and everyone has a different method for creating stylized cars. But you can see these vehicles, they range. Some of them are extremely impressive. Some of them can be a little bit more simplistic, but nevertheless, stylized cars are beautiful and they're very popular in the car community, in the car designing community, in the Blender community. This is another creator that creates stylized cars. Just absolutely beautiful work. Now, I've had the idea of doing something similar for quite some time, but this year I've taken the time to improve my car designing skills. And now that we've finished our RS6 designing course, I can now do a tutorial and show you my method of turning this car into a stylized car. So this is that secret project I've been working on for quite some time, our Stylized RS6. And I started working on this little prototype before I finished the real car, before I actually completed the real car. But once I had the idea, once I had the inspiration, I couldn't hold off. I just started to create this stylized car as a prototype, as a guide. And it's beautiful. I absolutely love this thing. Some of these design interpretations I came up with on my own. I was inspired by other designs I've seen around, but at the same time, I just came up with some of these ideas on my own, like the wide body, over-exaggerating the body parts, over-exaggerating the car design of the RS6, and using it to my advantage. One of my particularly favorite parts is using the natural curves of the RS6 but extending it into the front of the car and allowing it to flow really naturally, like truly like turning this into a toy car. And then at the rear, extending that flow line also. It was just an experiment. It was just a prototype. This is another version of that. This is when I was in the process of creating the Stylized RS6. You can see just how much different this one looks. Not entirely different, very similar, but also a little bit different. So I just want to do a tutorial today on how to create a stylized car. So let's continue with our RS6 model that we have so far. Now, if you've actually followed the course thus far and you've enjoyed it, just a really big thank you to everyone who's really watched, supported, and just been enjoying the course. But if you finish and you want to take it to the next level, how do we do this? Well, we highlight everything. Let's make sure we turn on screencast keys. We highlight everything by pressing A. Then we can tab in. We got everything selected. Now keep in mind that the viewport might actually slow down quite a bit. Just keep that in mind. But once we got everything selected, we then want to go into edit mode. Select everything once again. Now, the most obvious part of this is basically scaling it down. And the way I like to do that is simply, and this is not easy. Keep in mind that this could take a long time depending on how complex your design is. But first, I'll select half of the vehicle and I'll simply just scale it down a little bit. Keep in mind that this area we might have to just dissolve edges. Some of these vertices we want to have them a little bit closer together. Some of these vertices we can literally just dissolve them, and some of them just carry them a little bit closer together. We have to make space. We've got to make space for our new design. And we just want to be a little bit careful with how we get this done. So that's the rear end that's been adjusted, and now we want to take a look at this area. Now we want to take a look at this area essentially. So let's see what we can do with this area. Now let's see what we can do with this area if we select everything, select the rear also, carry this forward just a little bit more. We'll select the front also. We want to be extra careful with the door handles. And this is actually a good part. And this is actually something useful to mention. With the door handles, you might have to delete that for now, or else it's going to interfere with the rest of our design. Perhaps the most difficult thing is knowing where to adjust this design. Perhaps that is the most difficult thing. But the rest of this, we're going to carry it back just a bit more. We're going to continue to select these areas. Something that's worth mentioning is it's interesting how each adjustment that we make, we sort of have to rethink everything. Like if we select this area, we got to rethink everything. We might even have to get rid of that vertex for now. And due to the fact that the nature of the vehicle continues to change, that's honestly an important part to mention. We got to get rid of some of these vertices because it is being simplified. It's almost as if you need to redesign the entire vehicle. But once again, we're going to continue to carry this one forwards. Something that's really common with these particular designs is that the door is usually where it's most simplistic. Simply meaning that the doors are usually rather close together. Like, seriously. They're usually rather close together. So we're going to bring them a lot closer together. We might even dissolve these areas. As for these areas, we might actually raise this. So it's like I said, you can imagine the difficulty in this area. So we got to be extra careful. Same thing with these areas. You can imagine the difficulty with these areas also. We're going to raise these areas. We're going to dissolve these vertices. But I think, like I said, the most important thing is it's doing this while the entire design continues to change. We're going to carry these ones back just a little bit also. But one thing I've definitely noticed that I would also advise, if you're doing this, then it's best to do it by literally starting the entire design from almost from scratch. But you don't have to start it entirely from scratch. You could honestly hide the windows, basically hide all the unnecessary parts, and only keep the parts that are absolutely crucial, which is basically the shell of the car. Basically what I showed you previously. It's basically just keeping the shell of the car. None of these extra things, even these areas, can be redesigned after. A part of this process is that you're going to need to redesign a lot of the car because the shape is changing so much. So when you get rid of like the windows, all the unnecessary parts, it could even become simpler to follow. Honestly, I would say get rid of these areas also. The point of this tutorial is to rethink how we want the car to be shaped. And one of the things I've learned with this particular design, at least the shape I'll be working on, is that I want the rear of the car to be lowered. Not too low, if I'm being completely honest. The nice thing about this is that it doesn't have to look like the original car entirely, because that's the point. It's supposed to look different. It's supposed to be different. And one of my ideas was that the front pillar of the front seating area of the car is actually quite high up, while the rear end, I want it to be a little bit tucked, a little bit. Another thing, I would say hide these areas also. A lot of this, which is basically unnecessary for now, you either delete it for now or you can hide it for now. And we literally just work with the areas that are most important to us. So I want this area to be, I want it to be a little bit more like, kind of like that. So we're going to use proportional editing. At least we're going to try and use proportional editing. That could work, kind of like that. It's almost like we want it to look a little bit like a Porsche. You know how a Porsche rear end is it's kind of tight. It's kind of tuck. But honestly, I want this area to be like like even more tucked. Like I want it to be kind of like that, like tuck on the z-axis, tuck on the z-axis. Like crazy idea, almost. So I mentioned a Porsche before, but the other example is kind of like the e-tron, kind of like the GT e-tron. Now you see how the rear end is kind of, it's very tight, it's very clamped. Now the RS6 is not designed the same way. It's not meant to look the same. It's really not. So it's going to take me some time to get this right. Honestly, it's starting to look like a Porsche or a little Mercedes. I don't know. But it reminds me a lot of these vertices that are in our way, we just need to get rid of, honestly. So we can highlight these ones. Let's turn off the our proportional editing and let's carry this forwards. Let's get rid of some of those as well. Let's add a vertex right there. So it's already starting to look a little bit better, but we're not nearly there yet. Another thing I want to do is to extend the wheelbase. Like I said, with these toy cars, we want it to be over-exaggerate and over-exaggerated quite a bit. So we're going to select these areas, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to carry it out. We're going to over-exaggerate it. Now, I remember when doing this for the first time, on this same model, it was just learning for the first time that if you want to do this right, you're going to have to essentially redesign a lot of these parts to fit the new model, which is why I say it will take time. You got to delete some of these loop cuts, some of these vertices, because the new design is different. The toy car, that kind of look, that kind of personality and design is very different. And now it's almost like we need a vertice like right there. And the unique thing about this area is that it needs to be, like even these vertices right here, they need to be up. Like a lot of this needs to be changed. But you can see like it's starting to look different. Now I remember with the models that I showed you, those took me a couple of hours. Like to get that right, to get that, you know, that really beautiful look. Those took a couple of hours. Now we already have a loop cut right there, so we can literally just extend this one, raise this one, maybe not too much. And a key thing is that you want to be careful with how you raise these things. You don't want it to look just completely out of place. Carry these ones a little bit closer together, these vertices, and we may have to adjust this as well. Same thing with this one actually. Carry this one up also, and then we might want to merge this one. Well, just connect it actually. Probably carry these up. But you can see it's an entire process to get this correct. But this is just a theory of mine to create this toy car, this stylized look. We'll also hide the door handles for now. To make it even more simplistic and straightforward, I'd say get rid of those damn door handles, if I'm being completely honest, and literally join these vertices. Yes, get rid of those door handles. Honestly, dissolve those also, and move these up around there. I wonder if we need to get rid of that one also. We could. We probably could. And now with these two, you have to rethink the strategy. You have to sort of adjust that, probably adjust that as well. There you go. Another thing, due to this area natural design, we can sort of readjust this a little bit. I know I don't want to readjust this too much because we don't want to lose that design we spoke about. But this is all part of finding what works. But as for now, to be honest, we don't know what's going to work. But quite literally, it's like designing the entire car over again. And honestly, that's okay. It all depends on how much it all depends on just how much time you're willing to spend to get this right. But it will probably be worth it to get this right. More and more, it's starting to look like the Audi e-tron. Maybe a good thing, may not be a good thing. Let's continue to move all of this forward. It may even be time to get rid of that one. Probably get rid of this one as well. Probably adjust this one a little bit. As you can see right here, this needs to be brought back due to the original design interpretation that we were going for. Might have to get rid of that one right there just to keep the simplicity. Might also get rid of this one. Might get rid of that one too. And just join those. That's brilliant. But let's not forget this part. Honestly, that almost had me right there. Almost made a mistake. But just like that, we can now readjust it. But I hope you've learned something from this. You know, if you want to create these toy cars, then there's multiple ways to do it. I've seen multiple people do it in multiple ways, but honestly, I'm finding my own way of doing it, something that works for me. It doesn't have to work for you. You've got to find your way of doing it also. So just keep that in mind, like something like this, it won't work for everyone. And that's actually okay. It doesn't have to. That is looking a little bit better. Now I know the rear wheels are basically absolutely messed up, so don't you worry about those. You can literally delete those and we can basically add them again if we wanted to, just by duplicating the ones at the front. But I had something like this in mind. This is similar to what I had in mind. Now, this tutorial is not finished. This is just, just the beginning really. But I still believe we got some more work to do in these areas. So if there's anything that I want to add to this tutorial, I might come back to it and add some more detail as we go forward. Honestly, even this area, I might even get rid of just temporarily. Just anything that creates more problem now than we need. Even the wing mirror, even that area. And to be honest, I'm okay with redesigning the other areas. Like if there's any other areas to redesign, even the light units, you can get rid of that for now. I still want to over exaggerate this area. I still do, to be honest. Still want to over exaggerate this area. But maybe not to that extent. But you get my point. Now it's starting to look like an Audi TT. So I guess this is what's so good about this tutorial as well, is like going through until we find something that works. So I hope this tutorial has been useful to you in finding something that works for you. And let me know just how useful this tutorial has been. But you're starting to see, the more you remove, is the easier it becomes. It's the easier it becomes to like just keep on modeling. Yeah, literally, like the more vertices you remove, it does become easier. Let's dissolve those edges. Let's move that one along. Honestly, let's dissolve that as well. The entire point of this tutorial is, how do we simplify this and continue to and create that toy car, that fantasy toy car? How do we change this area? Lots of work. How do we reduce the front end area as well? That's another important question. And in order to do that, I'll hide these ones. Honestly, that's a good point. You don't even need the wheels. Like, most of this can be hidden. Even the wing mirror, you get rid of all the unnecessary things, and all you got to focus on is essentially exaggerating the car, like the front end. I would extend it. I would probably get rid of this one. And I think this is exactly what I did with the previous design. I literally just started to extend these areas. And before you know it, it started like a box. So I had to do some additional adjusting to basically square it off. Same thing with this area, do some additional adjusting. Yep. You can see it's starting to look like a toy car. Honestly, even this area, get rid of that area as well. Just anything you find to be unnecessary. We will keep the side skirt because using these vertices, we can duplicate and we can create the rest of the side skirt once again. This little thing right here, we're going to need it for now, so we'll keep that. Now I wonder if we get rid of these vertices. Maybe, possibly. And I wonder if we move this one forwards and move this forwards also. And then you come to the difficult part of how do we get this right? How do we add a vertex right there and get this area proportion correct? So I hope that makes sense, what we did in this tutorial to get this sort of design. Now notice this design is different from the one I showed you earlier, and that's because we changed the design of the rear end. Like the spoiler, this rear end is not supposed to be this low, but I wanted it to be this low, really just because of an idea that I had. Like all of this area right here is based on an idea that I had to just tuck the rear end to get a more defined look. But that is good. That is good, to be honest, if you've come this far. Now, obviously this needs a lot of refining, so after you do your refining, the easy part is recreating everything we just removed. For one, we didn't delete our wheels, we can bring those back super easy. And if you find, so what I did was basically hide the wheels, so you can always bring the wheels back, just pressing Option A. Just pressing Option H. It brings everything back, so I recommend deleting some of these that you don't need, because remember now, it's a stylized car. So things don't have to look proper. They can honestly be a little bit off, a little bit out of place, a little bit out of shape. Like it can honestly be a little bit creative. Like even the rear end from the top, I'm imagining like just making the rear end a little bit more, like so many ideas that are running through my mind, creating that rear end that feels very, very tucked. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna go with this final design. I probably won't, but the point of it is to try new things that may usually seem otherwise ridiculous, but nevertheless try new things and to see how it goes. But I like this. I like this tutorial of just like working on creating, slightly different design interpretation. And I can't wait to show you what my final design of this vehicle, of the Stylized RS6, will look like. Because once I had the idea, I was inspired. I couldn't let go of the idea of a Stylized RS6. So don't give up on your design. If there's any help that you need, leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you in our next tutorial. I hope this has been helpful, and I can't wait to see the stylized car that you create. Remember to share it on Twitter, Instagram, and tag me. So thank you for watching. Leave a like, a comment, and I'll see you in our next video. Peace. Welcome back, everyone. This is like a week later working on the design. Now I actually have multiple designs to choose from, and I can explain to you the thought process of each of these designs. Let's go back to the original. That's the original design. This is what I came up with months ago. Like honestly, this is the first design. I managed to Frankenstein the roof of this car with the body of that car. So you can see like this is starting to look like, it doesn't look like the RS6 anymore. It's starting to look like a muscle car. And that's one of the reasons I didn't go with this design. I might officially publish that design at a later date, but for now, I'm settling on this design. This is the design I really like. But before we go further, let me show you the third design. Yes, we have a third design. Now, something really specific is that I merge the door with the rear of the car. Like you can see right there, that difference in design. I wanted to try this out because this is a very common thing. I've seen other people design these cars, and it's very common for the door to connect to the wheelbase, despite the fact that in real life, that's not the actual design. But anyway, this is our third design. What I also noticed is that it started to look like the R3 or the RS3. It just started to look like an Audi A3. And again, I wasn't too happy with that. I wasn't loving it. So, I had to think to myself, well, we can't give up there. I wanted to create 3 different designs and to choose from them, but I was like, I've got to create another one. Take a look at them from the roof also. This is the smallest design I've created. So I really wanted to make sure. The question was, in my mind, can I go any smaller? And it turns out I could. I went a little bit smaller. As you can see, we got this 4th design. Now the 4th design was also very, very interesting because, like I said, it's smaller. It's the smallest design we created. These are basically identical. The only difference is, with the 4th design, is that I went to the extreme, like to the absolute extreme. And I still felt like it looked like an RS3 or an A3. It still doesn't feel like the RS6 that I love so much. So that's why I went with this design. I kept this design and I was like, you know what? This is the 2nd design. And when I was designing the car and when I was working on this, I was working on it in such a way that, it's just what I imagine. I always spoke about like making sure that the booty is well sandwiched, that the booty is not too expanded vertically, it's got to be a little bit squish, not too much, but a little bit squish. You can see what I mean when I say like this design looks like an A3. Come on, if you're an Audi fan, you're going to understand exactly what I mean. But this was the process. This was at least my process. And this was very, very helpful. Extremely helpful. I still can't get over the fact of how the original design turned out to look with the roof. That's also another thing to keep in mind. The height of the roof. Notice this is the smallest design. And notice the roof height right there. It looks like it's got the shortest roof. But because this one has a wide body, I extended the frame on this one. Just like the original. This one actually looks like it's more squish. It looks like it's the shorter design. Honestly, but the roof height was also, but the roof design had to be specific for me. I needed that roof to feel organic. I needed the roof to feel organic, like I really needed it to feel like, it can't feel like the original because the original it's too much roof. But also the original doesn't have the spoiler. If you agree with me, let me know if you think that the original looks like a Dodge car, like a muscle car, which is crazy because I don't like Dodges. I hope there's no Dodge fans here, but that for some reason started to look like a Dodge. It started to look like, yeah. Allow me to introduce you to the design that we're going with. This is our final design. This is the design that I've worked on the most. Like I said, this is still our 2nd design interpretation, but it's the design I've chosen to develop and to continue improving and evolving. And it feels like I've done a lot of work on this design, but it also feels like I still have a long way to go because I want to be really happy with the final results. Like for me, especially right now, mediocre is not enough. So, this is what it really will look like. I've been working on the window panels. We'll be installing those soon. Front windscreen. But also we have to work on that basic interior. I'm hoping to get that done tonight. Not all of it, but I'm hoping to get some of that done. It's just a basic interior, so that's not going to be easy. Let me just say that. That's not going to be easy at all. But it's exciting, I'm just going to keep it open like that and work on the interior. This is our design, I'm curious. Hopefully by the time this video is out, this design is it's out there. People are reacting to it. A stylized Audi RS6. I love it. I love this final design. I'm not going to joke. Like I actually I'm glad I chose this one. But I love this design. Like the booty is squished, but not too much. I didn't want to squish the booty too much. The roof is perfect. The front is just over exaggerated and big and long, just like the RS6. Like I try to keep it looking like and feeling like an RS6. That was an important part. Don't compromise the design. Embrace embrace the design, embrace those features, and over exaggerate it. So yeah, this is what she looks like, you know, and this is just a bit of material view. It's coming along well. It's looking better and better, but I think the next step is basically starting on that interior. And it's just a basic interior. It's nothing too complex, but wow, I love it. I absolutely love it. I might even love it too much. Like, this has just became a reaction video almost. Anyway, I'll go to get back to work, but like I said, this was just a quick update video. Some parts I'm really happy with, and some parts I'm not entirely happy with yet. And I just have to keep on working at it, keep on improving it, keep on trying my best. But yeah, some parts I'm just not fully happy with yet. But the work continues, you know. I can't wait until it's finished because I'm not stopping here. There's going to be a lot more designs that are similar to this. Another thing also, I've slightly redesigned the wheels because the Audi RS6 wheels, they're kind of protruded inwards. So I've had to take the initiative and redesign those wheels, you know. Not to mention also redesigning the bolts also. Let's put some loop cuts here. I just hate it when my viewport slows down, but I think one of the reasons it's the vertices, it's the modifier. I gotta keep in mind to keep that rendering down a little bit, you know, don't overdo the rendering. And you know, from here, I just need to like figure out just how I want it to be a bit more stylized, you know? Like I might have to, you know, make these bezels a little bit more obvious that it's a stylized car, because a stylized car shouldn't have too much detail. It's not a rule. It can, but I'm just thinking to myself, you know. So that's it for this update. Of course, this will all be part of just one big video, but yeah, this is looking good. I'm happy with this. I'm proud of this. We're just going to continue improving it little by little, detail by detail. See you in the next video.